Hello, friends. This is Michelle Hirschman, and I'm here with the All Ladies, Mary and Barbara. And I'm very excited to be able to connect with them and find out what their awe stories are all about. And Darcy, can you please share with us a little bit about them? She's going to read their bio.
Absolutely. So we have Barbara Noble and Mary Madill, the Awe Ambassadors. So a few words about Barbara first, then Mary, and then both of you together. Uh, so for Barbara, for over 35 years, Barbara was an educator of bright, gifted elementary children. She holds a master's degree in that field and has presented at the local, state, and national levels. Outside of education, other areas of interest for her have been holistic methodologies, including energy work, color puncture, and shamanism. She has engaged in certification programs, workshops, and research in those arenas. And a few words about Mary. Mary holds a master's degree in holistic health studies. She has also studied energy work, mindfulness-based stress reduction, yoga, and various spiritual philosophies. From quantum physics to ancient traditions, she has discovered there are many fascinating paths to navigate this thing called life, and discussing those ideas with others truly feeds her soul. Together, their friendship started almost 30 years ago at a wellness workshop. Even though they currently live 500 miles apart, their conversations are as thought-provoking as ever. From an initial spark of wonder, they continue to explore ideas and tools for creating their best lives from the inside out. They offer community workshops and occasional blog posts to share what they've discovered. So today we're going to explore what it means to explore wonder and possibility and what awe can truly wake up in our lives. I'll pass it back to you.
Lovely. Wow, you guys are a powerhouse. How long have you known each other?
Close to 30 years, and it was there was a certain synchronicity to it. Mary was living in the Kansas City area at the time, and we met at a workshop that was focusing on energy and managing your energy and learning about it as a human being and ways to raise your vibration, different ways of learning energy to create a thriving life. And we really hit it off there. And I'll turn it over to you, Mary, because the
Oh,
rest of the story kind of goes with you.
well, yeah, we did meet and discovered we had this common interest. And probably 4 years later, I left Kansas City to move to Minneapolis. And while we kept in touch over the years, there was kind of a pause for, that first 10 years, we weren't as closely connected as we had been. But I visited Kansas City one day and met Barb for lunch, and the conversation was reignited. She travels to Minnesota every year to their family cabin. And so we, one year, spent the better part of a week together and
Yeah.
realized what we loved so much about our friendship was that we loved exploring all of the mysteries of life. Who are we? How are we supposed to make the most of being human? And and the idea of a blog came up. So
Mhm.
we launched a blog, I think in 2018, sharing different perspectives and things about who we really are, the nature of our energy and how we can manage it, et cetera, et cetera. One thing led to another. We muddled our way through COVID, and then we discovered the research on awe just a few years ago. And that's been our passion ever since. So it's been an interesting journey. We feel like soul sisters. We can probably finish each other's sentences at this point, but
Yeah, along
it's been
those
a fun.
lines, it's been great. And even with the distance, we would continue to have these conversations. And as we worked on the blog and our website, Wonder and Possibility, we um, really want to create that opportunity to engage with others about ways you can create your own field guide for thriving. And we all have our own pathways. but there's some common threads there. And when we really get going over multiple cups of tea, we just find this great passion of there's a lot of people out there like us. And there's a lot of people who want to live a really great, thriving life. And that whole sense of trying to attract that and finding those pockets of people that support those things that are life enhancing. And that's what Michelle, just having, some conversations with you and the things that you're trying to do through your arena of bringing that light, those pathways, that energy forth in terms of, giving people the tools and skills to live their best life in all different ways.
Well, I met you ladies at Tammy Barton, who I actually interviewed on here. She's a shaman, and she has a store in Liberty,
Mm-hmm.
illuminating the soul. Is that the name
That's
of
the name of it. Illuminating the Soul is Tammy's place.
Tammy's place?
Mm-hmm.
And I grabbed. I was like instant. Like I saw these cards,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think I was talking to Tammy, and she's like, "Well, the that the ladies here that created these cards." I'm like, what? Which is magical in itself to actually be able to connect in that way, not just, the tangible cards, but the power behind them. And that was just amazing. And then I was just so intrigued when you started talking about it. I bought the cards and I've used them with my kids. And so appreciate them. I'd love to hear more about the co-creation of those cards, those oracle cards that you guys created.
Well, it was a long process. Our fascination with awe started just when we picked up, I think it was Jonah's book, Barb, Awestruck, I think it was called. And Barb's got it.
Yeah, I got it.
And just started reading, and we were so fascinated by the fact that science was showing that just having these moments of awe was beneficial to your health and well-being across the board. But we were also fans, this is kind of a little side note here, fans of the teachings of Abraham Hicks and my friend Nova Whiteman, who has taken those teachings and made them very practical in terms of our energy and aligning our energy with our true nature. And that's where our power for healing and abundance and all of those things come. And we kind of had this aha moment that when you are experiencing awe, when you're in that moment of, oh my gosh, wow, or whoa, or this is incredible, that you are in alignment. And so awe was, in fact, just another tool to bring us back into connection with our true nature. So it was this real neat synergy based on where we'd been and what we'd been talking about with saying, okay, here's awe. So we got real busy. We were reading all the books and we started putting together a workshop and to share this with people to say, okay, it's so simple. It's a mindfulness practice. We can show you how to do this. And in the midst of all of that, a good friend of mine said, oh, you should do a card deck. And we kind of, wow, we never thought of that. So then we went down that rabbit hole. I'll let Barb tell more of the story about how many iterations of the cards and how we went through it. But I'll say one more thing. We wanted to make it simple, just totally no questions. You didn't have to have anything more than the ability to read, to use these cards. We wanted to make it a tool so that it was accessible. It's fine to read a book and you can be very inspired and take notes and put little post-it notes in, but you have to keep going back to the book unless you've really ingrained those lessons for yourself. So we wanted something a little more portable, a little more practical, and something that was fun to use and it wasn't maybe as serious as a book. So Barb, I'm sorry, I'm taking all the time.
No, Mary illuminated, we do this back and forth, and a lot of times we're there in terms of our conversations is that Mary illuminated a lot of really good points is that our nature is that we love to research things. And as we explored and went into this, and as Mary talks about it being a rabbit hole at times, all the different wonder and possibility of things. And as we explored awe, we were fascinated by the research that was out there, led by Dacher Keltner, who's the professor out of University of California at Berkeley and has been studying awe for the last 20 years. And as we explored it more and more, we realized there is the potential to have those awe moments, both big and small. And there's different types of awe. And as Mary spoke to, we read, we researched, we read articles, we watched TED Talks, coming from that background of understanding energy, as Mary talked about with alignment, we found that there's just such a merging of all this information together that's still grounded in the scientific approach also, and also with the energy and higher level vibration. With that being said, when Mary's friend said, why don't you do a card deck? We should, sure, why not? And we discovered what we didn't know. And that whole process, you don't know what you don't know. And we just delved into it and really tried to put together a deck of cards that would, as she said, be portable, be accessible, that you realize that you can have those micro doses of awe and awaken wonder every day. And it is a practice. It is something that you cultivate. It's a perspective. It's all those things that makes it much easier than trying to carry a list around, trying to carry, that book around. And we've all read all those kinds of books with the lists of things to do to expand your life, do different things. And the deck of cards in this particular case, because it's something that's real different in a way of supporting a mindful practice, it was truly important to us that you could really just, grab them and go. And you could have them in your car. You could have them, on your desk. And the way we approached it too was there's no set way of using the cards. People will say, well, do you do them in sequence? And we do try to really share that it becomes your practice. Do you want to pull a card, once a week and focus on that? Do that. If you want to do it, once a month, or if, for 3 days in a row, you want to pull different cards. Truly, we wanted to make it where it could be custom designed to your life, to your schedule, and to help people kind of get out of autopilot, to pause, to linger, to savor what's around us, and the wonder that really does surround us on a daily basis.
One of the things we may have skipped over in all of this is that we all understand awe. I think most of us have experienced it from time to time. And a lot of us would think it's a big deal. You need to go to the Grand Canyon, or you need to see a spectacular sunset. But the truth was, and this is where the deck came from, is that if you take the time to be mindful, awe is available to us in the everyday things. So each of these cards in the deck takes something every day and sort of gives you some prompts to think about it differently. Like here's an example. The magic in music. Immerse yourself in beautiful music. Listen deeply. Do you feel any particular emotion? How does that happen? How did the composer bring an idea to life through unique combinations of notes? Symbols on the page are interpreted. A bow glides across taut strings. Air flows through a horn. Sound waves reach our ears. And like magic, we are transformed. We find ourselves captivated, energized, or even nostalgic. Listen again and ponder the astonishing experience that is music. So it's taking something that we do all the time, and we know that we like music, a certain kind, and we listen to it. But when we stop and think about it more deeply, ask some questions. How does this happen? How do these sound waves enter my brain and cause this emotion in me? You start to realize something bigger is at work. So awe is really tapping into that wonder and amazement that there's something bigger. There's a good definition of awe, and I should have it right in front of me. Barb, maybe you have it. It's that feeling of amazement when we encounter something vast or something beyond our current understanding of the world. And so it's in nature, it's in music, it's in art, it's all of our five senses. When we stop and question, how do my eyes work? How did my taste buds work? How do my ears work? And why? And you touch into that mystery of creation, whether you call it God or universe or source or whatever
yeah.
name you give it, when you realize that every little thing in our environment can, if you ask the right questions or sit with it long enough, kind of make you go, wow, that's pretty amazing. And those little bits of awe, it may only last a few seconds, but the science is showing that just having regular little doses of that kind of wonder or awe can bring about better health, greater happiness, more creativity, better problem solving. And this one I really love. It makes us feel more connected, makes us feel connected to each other and to that source or higher intelligence, whatever we want to call it. And it makes us more philanthropic, more generous, more willing to help one another. So, wow, when you think about all of those benefits are available just through little notices during the day, listening to music differently, tasting our food differently, appreciating nature differently. So, sorry, Michelle, we can just talk on
Yeah,
and
we can,
on.
no,
I
we
need to let you
obviously.
jump back in.
Yes. Well, I love it. I was going to have you define awe, which you did, and I had stood up because I left my awe cards on the other side of the room, and it sounds like you both have your awe cards around you.
Mhm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I thought it might be fun to like pick a card. It sounds like you just did one, but I'm thinking like we can pick one for the group and then kind of talk about it a little bit.
Sure.
Sure.
So I just chose one. It says looking for love. And by the way, I guess see, it comes in this little beautiful box. And there's these cards, and there's like images on see, I might have to take my virtual background off, but I'll show it to you guys in a minute. So this one says, looking for love. Love is a vast, powerful force that runs through all of us. When you witness or experience an expression of love, there can be an energetic response in your heart that's almost inexplicable, opening you up to an awe moment. All around us, expressions of love can be observed in many ways, including hugs, facial expressions, acts of kindness, greetings, and departures, to name a few. When you start looking, embrace the possibility.
And that's great. And Michelle, coming back to the awe deck, and we did the awe deck, as Mary already talked about a little bit, is there's 52 cards. So a vast majority of them are what we call prompts of that nature or different kinds of questions. And then we also have included pictures, like what we would deem awe-inspiring pictures, to again to prompt you to think about those magical moments with a vision, our visionary things. And then we also have the deeper dive cards, which requires a little bit more thought. The card you're alluding to is, I think, one of those prompts, and it speaks to when Dacher Keltner talks about the 8 different types of awe. That plays into moral beauty. When we've all had that experience of when you see that random act of kindness that really touches your heart, or that you see somebody, hand holding with 2 people that there's a real loving bond between them, or children playing and they're hugging each other, and that goes beyond just any differences they have. Those are those moments that your heart opens, and connecting with it and the energy of that, and that opportunity to linger and savor that. And there is an energetic connection there that, you might not get goosebumps right in that moment, but you're put into a place where you slow down, you savor, and you create a connection, as Mary's talking about connections with people in ways as we're on our auto track, but it broadens that perspective. It broadens that bond. It broadens that bandwidth. And speaking to that with love, hopefully we've all had those moments that you're in that moment of love connection, that you really feel like your heart is opening up. Mary, do you want to add to that?
Well, I think again, it may be very familiar to us.
Yeah.
We've all experienced a hug, or we've watched, a child help another child up who fell off the swing set or something. And we just kind of go, oh, that's just so touching. But I think the awe comes when we stop and say, wow, why do I feel that?
Mhm.
What just happened there? What transpired? More than just the thinking part. I witnessed it. I know that I think that's lovely, but where's that feeling? Where did that come from? And what is really happening? And when we stop, even for a few moments, and experience that and breathe into it and deepen it, you might get goosebumps just witnessing an expression of love, whatever it is. I find that at the airport all the time. You see
Yes.
people greeting people they haven't seen for ages, and it just gives me goosebumps. You just think, oh, remember what that feels like. And so it's taking the time to notice those and really hang on to that feeling and be amazed that we as human beings are privileged to have that feeling.
And do that. I mean, one of my favorite moments is in the movie Love Actually, when they're at the airport and you see all the people greeting, and there's such joy. And I'm every time I get caught up and I get that lump in my throat and that kind of awe moment of truly what is possible among that whole expression of love that's there every single day surrounding us, and being with that. I mean, part of this is just being with that and truly taking the time, as I keep coming back to pausing and lingering with that, and letting the emotion settle there. And as Mary talks about, that we're capable of humans to do that. But we also know that's an expression like, those of you who have animals, that expression with, pets and dogs, and that having that bond there. So it comes in a variety of manners too.
Yeah, I was thinking of that movie Love Actually as well. But I love there's so much parallel with awe and mindfulness.
Mhm.
Like, taking the time to begin, it kind of opens up the brain to
Mhm.
to um process versus just kind of like, oh yeah, I love you, love you, love you, or like not really feeling it in your body.
Mhm.
That disconnect that can happen in life. And I love that you guys are really nosediving into these moments and helping us reconnect with our really our sole purpose, because I mean it's what we most of us are really craving, is
Mhm.
that connection, that's so easily lost with all of the pulls in our day-to-day life, right? All the stress.
Right.
And
Right.
Michelle, if I can interject, I love that you use the word crave and yearn. I think as humans, we yearn for that connection, and those connections to those moments of wonder. And those are, as Mary talked about earlier, there are those big awe moments. We jokingly talk about, going to the Grand Canyon and you see that the first time, or you see the birth of a child. I mean, those are universal big awe moments. But for every human being, I think that's part of our belief, is that we can cultivate those personal awe moments that truly are for you, that truly are what do you bring to the table? What do you, in your life experiences that have meaning for you? I mean, one of my favorite cards here in the deck is called The Road Less Traveled. And it, speaks to the whole thing with, Robert Frost, is we offer the prompt of take a different route home, take another way of, doing your walk, go someplace differently that's novel, or doing something that's out of the ordinary, and see what you discover. Looking for the wonder and that might be there. As a personal example, I was actually in Chicago visiting a friend, and we were in the car, and he was asking about this project in the awe deck, and we were still in the midst of designing our cards, and I brought up this one about the novelty of taking different routes, and the road less traveled, and what might you discover. And all of a sudden, in the streets of Chicago, this coyote started wandering across the street, which for me blew my mind. And I'm going, what? What is the coyote doing here? And I really did have this moment of awe going, okay, here I am on a busy street, and this coyote just starts wandering across the street, and I had to stop for a second and go, wow, how did that occur? What, and process and think about that. And I'll find myself repeatedly trying to find different ways to bring that wonder in my life through the road less traveled.
What I've loved every time you've mentioned an awe moment, Barbara, you like have this big smile on your face. Like it's this like joyful
Yes.
that you're dropping into, which is so
Yeah.
lovely. So thank you for doing that with us. Well, I'd like to just kind of check in with our audience here, Leslie and Dra. Do you guys have any questions yet? Or Darcy? I love you, Darcy.
I don't have a question. I love this so much. It's in such an alignment with what I do as well. And I think you're totally right. When you are in flow, that is
Yeah.
that is, that is it. It's the juicy goodness that we all hope to come across daily or weekly. How if some if someone is kind of uncomfortable, taking that little detour, on the road, right? The road less traveled. If someone's a little hesitant to take that because they feel safe with their patterns,
Mhm.
what advice would you have to give them to explore, to get curious, to find their awe?
I go back to what we offer of all kinds of possibilities within the deck. So, and it's Mary spoke to, and we both are speaking to, it takes little micro doses. Okay. So it doesn't have to take a big leap. It might be, on your regular walk, that if there's, I have a regular walk that I do every morning, and that's kind of my comfort zone of where I'm traveling. But there's a card that says stop in this name of awe, where I will take a moment and I just stop where I am and just do a 360 and just say, okay, what am I noticing here? And is there anything that I can touch with, relate to? And this happened just recently. One morning, it was early enough, and I stopped, and all of a sudden it was as simple as the sun came through, and I was surrounded by this field of really weeds, but the way the dew and everything was captured on it, and started thinking about, okay, what brought that all together in terms of the morning dew? And it was just a very simple moment. But for me personally, it was an awe moment. It really provided that, wow, the wonder really is around me. And I truly just had to take that moment to pause. So coming back to your question is inviting people to pause, inviting them to linger, inviting them to take a moment to savor what's in their current environment and to look at it and think about it. Mary, I can see
Yeah,
not
I think
sharing. Yeah.
you're absolutely right, Barb. That's the easiest way. Just stop wherever you are. You don't have to do something different. Just stop and notice something where you are. And for me, the key is asking questions
Mhm.
about what you're experiencing. So you don't have to get out of your safe zone. You don't have to get out of your familiar routine to experience awe. You're eating your breakfast and
Yeah.
start asking questions about where did this blueberry come from? You can ask all kinds of questions like how did a seed planted in the earth
Mhm.
turn into a sprout, which then became a stem, which added leaves, which then became a flower, which bore fruit. That in itself is awesome to me. And everybody has their own things that will evoke that wow factor. But asking questions, there's the nature aspect of where did this come from? Maybe you're more engineering inclined, and so your question is, how did this blueberry get picked off a bush in California and go to a plant where a processing plant where they packaged it, and then it got shipped somehow, and then it got to my grocery store, and then it got to my refrigerator, and then it got to my breakfast table. And how many lives were involved in bringing this one berry to to
To
my
my mouth.
to my mouth or for my breakfast? So whatever you're doing, and that's kind of what we did with the cards. We touched on all different topics, and for some people, it might be the case where they just literally read every card until they find one or two or three that resonates with them. Like the music one is my favorite because I still can't figure out how, without any wires attached, the Boston Philharmonic is playing in my room. How is that possible? And how did all of those notes come together to make such a beautiful sound? Everyone will have different, excuse me, different favorites. And so it may be going through the whole box and reading them all to find your favorites. It may be trusting that I'm just going to draw a random card. It may be starting with the top of the deck and just working your way through one card at a time and being curious enough to see which ones lead you to those moments of awe. So here's a caveat. The deck is not guaranteed to bring goosebumps. The deck is a tool to
Mhm.
help you develop a mindful practice, a practice of seeking the wonder that
Mhm.
is all around us. It's a practice. So, just like anything, whether it's a yoga practice or a meditation practice or a fitness practice, it takes repetition, it takes consistency, it takes curiosity.
Mhm.
What will happen if I do this? Will I be happier this week because I've had two awe moments? Will I be smarter this week because I've had, experience of awe? Um, but that is a good question. How do you get people interested in starting this? One of the things we say, in fact, the deck comes with a little booklet at the beginning to sort of explain what awe is, what the science says about it, and how to use the deck. Um, and where was I going with that comment? Oh, that you can use this any way you want. You develop your own practice.
Yeah.
And we give some suggestions, but you may have your own
May come
ways of
up
doing
with
it too.
things that we didn't even think of, and please share that.
Mm,
It's, I mean, Michelle goes back to the fact that, and Darcy about being ambassadors. We're so excited that we really do want to complement the research that's out there and let people know that this is possible, that there is this wonder, there is this awe, and it's possible. And there's all kinds of triggers and ways and insights that as we've moved past the pandemic, but as we keep on finding ways to get out of a sense of isolation and to connect with others. One of my favorite aspects of awe is collective effervescence. We've all had those opportunities when we've been with a large group of people, go to a sporting event and everybody's cheering together and you're so excited and you've bonded over that, or you have that elevated vibration and alignment that is awe-inspiring. Go to a Taylor Swift concert. You saw it over and over again. I mean, or those kinds of opportunities to be together in a way of fostering more community, fostering the fact that you're not just out there alone, that you are connected, and those feelings of awe help to nurture and generate that.
Mhm.
Leslie.
Yeah, I have a question. So it seems pretty clear that both of you have this practice of awe and wonder and seeing it in your life, and it's marinated, and so now you're bubbly and able to kind of see things in a different way, and that's very, very inspiring and beautiful. So thank you for that. And my question is, so the state of the world in the nation seems pretty dire. And many people are really struggling.
Mhm.
And a lot of people in my work they're in this state of collapse or this state of overwhelm. And I feel like connecting with that awe and wonder feels really hard, extremely, extremely hard. And I'm wondering if you have any, like, if there's a roadmap to that you would say, like, or ways to even like microdose
Sure.
for people who are just not, I don't know, just in a hard place.
That's a really excellent observation, Leslie, and a really you're right. We're so in the weeds with this. We're just living it. It's easier for us because we've been practicing it for so long. But given the state of the world, many, if not the majority of us, are at least occasionally in a state of overwhelm
Oh,
and
yeah.
depression, kind of, oh my gosh, there's no hope, this really desolate feeling. So it is really naive to think that a person who's experiencing that could suddenly be excited over the blueberry they're having for breakfast. That's just a big leap. So I always hearken back to a phrase from, well, anyway, from a book from a life coach, and it's also true. The phrase is also true. And it helped me a lot. She uses it in her coaching so that when you're in this state of frustration or fear or depression because of things that are happening, she invites us to pause and say, but it is also true. In the midst of this chaos, it is also true that that flower is blooming outside my window. So it's not denying that there's this challenge and this difficulty, but it's mindfully looking for something positive and even momentarily shifting attention away from the media or whatever is bringing us down and looking for something good and simply saying, it's also true that the flowers are blooming. It's also true that this music is incredible. It's also true that my dog loves me. It's also true that the world is still spinning. We are still part of the cosmos and nothing has shifted. So I think it's really important that you bring that up because it is naive to just assume everybody's going to love to pick up a card and go, oh, okay, life is good today. Um, but what we're hoping is by pointing out that awe and wonder are available in the everyday things, that we spur people or encourage people to begin looking for those. And so maybe this whole deck needs to be marketed with a caveat. Yes, we know the world sucks right now. And so if you could even take just a moment, we're going to give you some examples of what's also true in the midst of this. So that would be my approach.
And I want to say, Leslie, trust us that our life is at times extremely chaotic, and at least, and there's those moments that you kind of go like that. And what I in our discussions, because this process has taken at least 3 years to put these cards together. And of course, we were naive enough to think, yeah, we're going to whip these puppies out, and life enters, and there's all kinds of things that have happened personally in our lives that we had to put it on pause in terms of working on this or coming, but here's the thing that we have discovered over this journey is, because we have those microdoses, because we get excited, because I had that big smile on my face, because there's been those moments that we always want to come back to it. We find that the more we build upon that, even with those small little steps, that we constantly will make the time to come back to it. So coming back to your question, yes, at times the world really does suck, and we can all get caught up in what that. I love what Mary said, but it is also true that there's something going on, that even just for that little moment, that if you can shift the focus, because that's all the only gift that we have, is that we have our gift of focus that we can give to different things. You're honoring us by giving your gift of focus to us today. Michelle has honored us, Darcy's honored us by having a focus here on awe today. And it's just building those little, steps along the way, that you were here and now you're here, and those places along the way, and you can look back and say, oh, okay, it isn't, it's a terrible day, but I can find something about it that I can come back to.
Yeah, Barb, I like that reminder that where we place our attention is our power.
Mm-hmm.
It's our choice. And it's so easy in this day of technology.
Right.
There's so much information coming at us. We're kind of overwhelmed, and that's where our attention is. Oh, this, did you hear that? And now this, and now that. Instead of saying, time out, I'm in charge of my attention. Where I place my attention affects my health and well-being. So where am I going to place it? And not to say you can turn off the world, but reminding ourselves that that's our key, the thing that we own. We own our attention, and where we place it matters. So these are just little exercises in placing your attention on something that's already in your environment and letting it lead you to something different. But it is a reminder that we have to be good stewards of our attention. Where are we giving our attention? What are we giving our energy to? What are we giving our power to? And when we can pull it back and say, nope, I'm going to use my energy, my focus to help me feel better, then looking for awe and wonder is one way of many, many ways. Meditation and other things are also wonderful ways, journaling, lots of practices to help us place our attention where we truly benefit from that attention.
And one more note with that, Mary, is that going back to what you originally said, is putting us in alignment with who we really are and connected to everything.
Well, and I think, and we're going to wrap it up here, but yeah, I feel like there's awe in it all,
Yeah, exactly.
in reflection, going back to some of the darker times over the last couple of years. I'm like, oh, I mean, it's hard to experience it when you're in it, but sometimes in hindsight, I think there's some moments to drop into. So, ladies, thank you so much for this. This is a tool, like this is part of my toolbox. This
Thank
is
you.
be a part of most people's toolboxes. As a clinician, a life coach, like I keep this in my bag. I use it with my clients. I use it with my kids. Like it's on my desk. So during the week, when I need to drop in, it's just something that I use too. So it's just a really practical, like, I'm just grateful you both co-created this beautiful gift. So thank you. And thank you for explaining it to us, because it kind of resonates even more deeply in my heart now. So thank you.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. We love to talk about it. Clearly, we could talk for hours, and we appreciate you being patient with us as we kind of share the long story.
Absolutely. And we'll be putting up the website of where to get this. Are
Great.
you guys expanding out it to beyond your website? Like, will it be on Amazon and all the things?
It won't be on Amazon in the near future. It'll just be on our website, but who knows? If there's enough of a growth pattern here, it might expand out to Amazon eventually.
And possibility.com. So yeah, we'll put that out there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.